Tonight on SUTV News, SHIP says no to drugs and alcohol.
And the student government election results are in.
All that and more right now. Thanks for joining us on SUTV News. I'm Bailey Casada.
And I'm Jordan Hanley. SGA elections have been ongoing all week and the results have just been announced. Stephen Washington has been elected as the SGA president for the 2020-2021 academic year. Clarence Johnson III will be the vice president of internal affairs, while Lance Hines Butts is the new vice president of external affairs. Riley Brown is the new vice president of student groups, and Brenda Aristi will be the new vice president of finance. These 5 individuals will hold their positions until this time next year. The SGA Senate elections will take place after spring break. The Shippensburg Presidential Medal scholarships were announced last week on Thursday the 13th. Seniors Jeff Bayer and Gabriella Johnson were the recipients of this year's scholarship. Bayer is a member of the men's swimming team, and Johnson is a member of the women's swimming team as well as the volleyball team. The two were selected from a group of people nominated for the $1,500 scholarships. The scholarship is on its second year and is awarded by President Carter to acknowledge extraordinary contributions by individuals or organizations. It is a crucial time in the Democratic presidential race as the South Carolina primary is being held this Saturday. SUTV's Nolan Hoffman has the latest.
With the South Carolina Democratic primary coming up on Saturday, it's important to understand where the candidates currently stand and what they have to do in order to stay in the race. SUTV News has the latest from the polls as Saturday is quickly approaching. Take a look. According to a poll released today by Monmouth University, Joe Biden leads by a wide margin of 20 points at 36% over his Democratic rivals. Bernie Sanders in a distant second at 16%, and billionaire activist Tom Steyer at 15%. There are 2 candidates, Elizabeth Warren and Pete Buttigieg, rounding out the top 5 at 8% and 6% respectively. The other thing to remember is Mike Bloomberg will not be competing in his primary on Saturday, but the latest poll is suggesting that Bloomberg would have little support to begin with. As South Carolina looms coming up on Saturday, it seems to be a do-or-die primary for every single candidate that's not named Bernie Sanders. So it's going to be interesting to see how each of these candidates round out as South Carolina comes up this Saturday.
Shippensburg University's Alcohol and Drug Program hosted a pong tournament this past Tuesday to show students that alcohol is not required to have fun. SUTV's Alexandra Smith has more.
What?
Shippensburg Athletics, Greek, and Residence Life joined together at Gatorade Fest to raise money for charity this past Tuesday. The event took place in the Cub with 62 teams competing head-to-head to be named the head pong champion. Half of the proceeds from the event went to the Harbor, a 3-part community with a sober house, church, and a recovery house. And the rest of the money went to a charity or philanthropy of the winning team's choice. Teams paid $10 to join and were entered for a chance to win various prizes, from gift cards to Shippensburg apparel to AirPods for the winning team. The event was hosted by the Student Athlete Advisory Committee, who were trying to send the message to students that alcohol is not needed to have a good time.
The first and foremost goal, most important, is to model for students a way that they can have fun, play a game that historically is played with alcohol, without alcohol.
Dunkel hopes to continue to push this message to students and encourages them to download the Screen U app, available on Apple and Android devices. For SUTV News, I am Alexandra Smith.
If you are a mystery fan, grab a couple friends and keep your weekend clear. APB is hosting an escape room Saturday in the Cub. There will be 4 separate rooms set up. 3 will be in the Cub rooms 103, 104, and 105, while the 4th will be in Orndorff Theater. While the themes have not yet been announced, it is promised to be a lot of fun. Doors open at 5 o'clock, and for any questions, email apb@ship.edu or message their Instagram at shipapb.
When we come back, we give you an inside look at Redemption Barbecue.
Stay tuned.
A local Shippensburg business is open under a new name, but still sports that great smoky flavor. SUTV's Andrew Hyback has the story.
Just off the intersection of King Street and Earl Avenue, you can find Redemption Barbecue.
Formerly known as Holy Smokehouse, the barbecue joint is back and open for business under the same management. The restaurant is just a few steps off the main drag of Shippensburg and well within walking distance of campus. Heading inside, customers are greeted with a warm and homey interior. There's a pool table and a jukebox so that customers can play some of their favorite blues tunes, and plenty of space for parties of all sizes. Redemption is also BYOB, making it a perfect spot to kick back and enjoy a few rounds with your friends. Redemption's menu is sizable and sports all kinds of smoked goodies for customers to come in and enjoy. Make sure you grab those paper towels if you decided on the pulled pork nachos, and believe me, they're worth the mess. The man behind the food, owner Justin Kaufman, sat down with me to talk about the inspiration behind Redemption Barbecue.
My wife and I felt inspired to reopen underneath Redemption Barbecue because it tells our story, and also it just tells the story of redemption, that we all been redeemed through anything and everything from the choices that we ever made, and just putting God first before everything is the most important thing for us.
Kaufman is out to help more than just his customers. After recently receiving a donated food truck, Kaufman plans to head out to Harrisburg and Chambersburg to help feed the homeless. Kaufman believes in providing people second chances, as well as welcoming them into his restaurant in order to spread his mission of redemption. For him, the combination of good food and a good message is sometimes all you need to change someone's life.
And customer service, and just be able to reach people while we're doing it and be an influence, because just because you made mistakes in the past and you messed up and everything doesn't mean that's where it needs to stop. There's hope in the future, and that's what we want to give everybody.
For a mission that strives to change lives, delicious barbecue is a good place to start. I'm Andrew Hybeck reporting for SUTV. Back to you guys at the desk. I'm going to finish these nachos.
For more information on Redemption Barbecue, you can check out their Facebook page or go to the website at www.redemptionbarbecue.com. The NFL's collective bargaining agreement is up for renewal. SUTV's Ryan Sandy has the details.
The CBA is a labor agreement that comes up for renewal every few years to update the terms to add or delete certain rules. The new CBA has opted to expand the regular season games from 16 games to 17 games, and the preseason will be 3 games instead of 4 games. Preseason ratings have gone down over the past few years because the starting players usually don't play that much. 17 regular season games would generate more money for the NFL as well as more money for the players. The plan would be more entertaining for the fans, but the proposal does not seem appealing to certain players. Texans star J.J. Watt tweeted, quote, "hard no on that proposed CBA." End quote. While many players began to agree with the star on Twitter, former player Devontae Davis voiced his opinion, saying how dangerous the game was and how it could hurt the health of the players. Another major part of the new CBA proposed deal is the addition of a 7th seed in each conference of the playoffs. An additional playoff seed would make the 2nd seed host a wild card playoff game instead of getting the bye. Regular season games would be more important as teams would be fighting for the top seed. Owners have voted in favor of the new CBA. The Players Association has also voted 17-14 with 1 abstained vote.
The vote will now fall into the hands of the NFL players as the majority rule will be the ruling.
The PA state system released some new information as part of their redesign plan, but it was soon met with some controversy. Megan Talley gives us the details.
The PA State System of Higher Education's redesign plan has been in the works since fall of 2016. And earlier this month, all faculty and staff were sent new directives that sent waves of concern throughout the university. With PASHE needing to cut their budget to juggle declining enrollment, it meant temporary professors could lose their jobs and class sizes can increase. This week, faculty and students flooded into Old Main Chapel to voice their concerns with Chancellor Dan Greenstein.
Chancellor Greenstein and President Carter opened the floor today to students and faculty to voice their concerns about the new budget plan and how it can affect negatively on the student experience.
It virtually guts all of our adjuncts and has detrimental consequences to many of our programs.
Some of us are panicked. And some of us do feel like we're in crisis.
And we can't fit any more students in our classrooms. The fire inspector says we can only put so many students in our classes, and we're at capacity.
Greenstein says the students have always been the top priority to PASHE, and at this time, they need to take action for a financial deficit that's affected them for far too long.
But, I'm going to come back to the student. You have a problem. It's not a forever problem. It's clear that the across-the-board kind of spread it around, and I'm not being critical of past administrations, but a non-strategic approach is exhausting your reserves, and that's not good for your students.
In response to today, President Carter addressed the crowd saying, quote, "We have got to be able to invest in the future of our university and our students. That is my commitment. And my other commitment is to do that with you as we continue to do it," end quote. PASHE hopes to finish this phase of the budget later this year and to have it all completed by 2021. Reporting for SUTV News, I'm Megan Talley.
The year 2020 is one day longer than usual. The Julian calendar is held responsible as Julius Caesar created one rule. Every year that is divisible by 4 will be a leap year. More confusing traits of this day consist of every 100 years, we skip one leap year unless the year is divisible by 4 and 400. Without a leap year, we would actually be in the middle of the year 2021. This little phenomenon happens due to the Earth's rotation around the sun. Every 4 years, the year increases to 366 days to keep our calendars in sync with the seasons. As one can imagine, crazy traditions take place on February 29th. Women propose to men, and if rejected, the man has to buy her either a beautiful gown, silk gloves, or even give her money as his own penalty. Leaplings or leapers normally celebrate their birthdays the day before or the day after their actual birth date. So be on the lookout this Saturday for gigantic birthday parties or unusual antics that may surprise you.
When we come back in world news, President Trump makes a trip to India.
We have more after the break. What's coming up in this week's edition of The Slate?
Michaela Valonio has this week's Slate preview. Michaela?
Coming up in the Slate on Tuesday, we will cover the Chancellor's visit to SHIP and men's basketball heading to Kutztown this weekend. Other stories include coverage on Nikki Giovanni's lecture, Alpha Phi's Mr. Ivy pageant, and the Slate Speaks. Be sure to check it out on Tuesday in newsstands or on campus or at theslateonline.com.
The coronavirus continues to spread and infect more.
Brandon Keiss has this week's world news. Brandon?
Olympic organizers say the 2020 Olympic preparations are going as planned, despite the outbreak of the novel coronavirus. Although multiple sporting events have already been affected by the virus in that part of the world, the International Olympic Committee is saying the Games will go ahead as planned, despite having one of their senior members in Dick Pound tell the Associated Press that the Games have a potential to be postponed or canceled. The IOC is in contact with the World Health Organization and along with their own medical team have confidence in the local authorities in Japan and China to take the right measures to address the situation ahead when it comes to the Olympics. The Games are set to start on July 24th, and the IOC has until May to decide if the Games will keep that start date. Coronavirus cases in Italy have now reached over 400, making the country and neighboring countries very nervous. Just last week, the reported amount of cases in Italy was as low as 3. And that number has since quadrupled in less than a week as Italian officials try their best to control this raging virus. The city of Milan is being heavily affected as the northern part of the country has seen the largest amount of cases. Tourism is low. Shops and businesses are closed along with schools as 11 villages remain in lockdown in the region. The Italian economy could even go into a recession due to all of the shut down businesses and empty supermarkets. What makes matters worse is that the initial patient that brought the virus to Italy has yet to be found. While Italian Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte has called for residents to remain calm and media organizations to not report as much on the matter as a way of limiting panic in the country. Since 2015, there have been more than 4.7 million Venezuelans that have fled their country due to the corrupt rule of current leader Nicolas Maduro. Many of those migrants have gone into the neighboring country of Colombia, and today more than 1.7 million people are living there in a search for a better life for their families. Venezuela is currently going through one of the largest humanitarian crises that the Western Hemisphere has seen in modern times, and is expected to become worse than the Syrian refugee crisis. This all comes at a time where many other countries are closing their doors to migrants and refugees. But Colombia is more than happy to help their Venezuelan neighbors. Current Colombian President Iván Duque has called for more help from the international community since they are not able to handle this crisis on their own. While the Syrian crisis has accumulated $7.4 billion in 4 years from countries around the world, the effort to help Venezuela has only received $560 million. Colombians are in need of supplies and more funds in order to help as many people as they can before it is too late. President Donald Trump returned back from an important trip to India this past weekend. Here's Karen Kafa with a recap of the trip.
Trump and First Lady Melania Trump attending a state banquet at the presidential palace in New Delhi. One more show of pomp and pageantry on a trip that packed a lot into 36 hours.
This was a tremendous learning experience and something very special.
The itinerary led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi included a massive stadium rally on Monday, showing the strength of the relationship between the two leaders. But the trip failed to yield the breakthrough in trade talks that many hoped, although President Trump touted progress.
Our teams have made tremendous progress on a comprehensive trade agreement, and I'm optimistic we can reach a deal.
Trump has complained about high tariffs placed on American goods by India, the world's fifth largest economy. Modi and Trump share a protectionist approach to trade and a nationalist bend to their policy that has prompted criticism of both, that they are unfair to Muslims in their countries. In New Delhi Monday, deadly clashes erupted over a new Indian citizenship law that favors non-Muslims. President Trump sidestepped specific questions about the law.
I want to leave that to India, and hopefully they're going to make the right decision.
President Trump did depart with an agreement for India to purchase $3 billion in American military equipment. In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
And that's it for World News. Back to you guys at the desk.
When we come back in entertainment, Justin Bieber continues to break records.
We have more after the break.
You know what, Jordan? It was really cold today, and not only that, it was so windy.
Yeah, the wind here on campus is just crazy. Rumor has it, though, there's supposed to be some sun this weekend. So why don't we send it over to Brianna Webb with this week's weather. Brianna?
As we head into March, it's starting to feel a lot more like spring, but not quite look like it. Tonight will be cloudy with a low of 28. Friday will have a high of 39 with mostly sunny skies, and later on a low of 23. Now let's take a look at the 5-day. This weekend, the sun will stay peeking through the clouds with Saturday's high of 35 and a low of 24. Sunday begins to heat up with a high of 50, then drops quickly throughout the day with a low of 34. Rain drives through the beginning of our week once again with showers. Warm weather consists of highs in the early 50s to early 60s. Monday through Wednesday with lows in the high 40s, mist and humid air will continue throughout the nights. Well, it seems like the mix-up rain and sun combination will flourish for a few more weeks. Have fun this weekend in the semi-warmth and stay safe. Let's send it over to Hannah with this week's entertainment.
Elvis Presley fans are all shook up after another artist has taken over this certain spot. Canadian singer Justin Bieber is now the youngest solo artist to achieve 7 #1 albums, only at the age of 25. Presley was 26 when he scored his 7th chart topper titled Blue Hawaii, which he released back in 1961. Bieber's newest album, titled Changes, focuses on how he has transitioned from teen star into adulthood. The Grammy Award-winning singer dedicated many of his tracks to his new wife, Hailey Bieber, and how he has struggled with past drug abuse and his mental health. Bieber's new album sold 213,000 copies within the first week. Katherine Johnson, a trailblazing NASA mathematician and scientist, has died this past Monday. Johnson made history by being one of the first African-American women to be hired by the space agency. Johnson helped pave the way for the first astronaut to orbit the Earth and the infamous Apollo 11 moon mission. In 2015, President Barack Obama awarded Johnson with the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and a year later, her story would be transformed into an award-winning film titled Hidden Figures. Taraji P. Henson, who portrayed Johnson in the film, honored her legacy on Instagram. She said, quote, "Because of your hard work, little girls everywhere can dream as big as the moon. Your legacy will live on forever and ever," end quote. Johnson was 101 years old. It's been over 15 years since the cast of Friends said goodbye, but it looks like they are finally making their return. Warner Media has officially announced that the widely popular show Friends will be returning for a reunion special this May. On social media, each of the main cast members shared the following picture with the quote, "It's happening." The Friends special will debut along with every episode of the original series on HBO's new streaming service, HBO Max. After directing the first 4 Indiana Jones movies, it looks like Steven Spielberg is set to step away from the beloved franchise. Variety reports that Steven Spielberg is no longer directing the next Indiana Jones movie, but will remain on the project as a producer. The next movie in the Indiana Jones franchise, currently titled Indiana Jones 5, has had a troubled road to the screen, having faced numerous delays. Harrison Ford is still attached to star, and director James Mangold is currently in talks to step in for Spielberg. That's it for entertainment. Let's send it back to the desk.
When we come back in sports, Coach Jones gets his 500th career win.
And women's basketball clinches the #1 seed for playoffs. We have more after the break.
Last Saturday, the women's track and field was back in action at Bucknell. Leah Graybill once again broke her 200-meter record with a time of 24.76 seconds. This put Graybill in the top 25 on the leaderboard. Graybill will compete this weekend at the 2020 PSAC Championship at Edinburgh. Best of luck to Leah and the rest of the track and field team. Sticking with track and field for the men, several SHIP athletes had strong performances at the Bucknell Tune-Up this past Friday. Sophomore Brooks Bear set throwing PR for his first ever NCAA provisional qualifier. Brooks threw the weight just over 58 feet. Continuing with PRs, senior Connor Olt set his PR in the 60-meter hurdles, which should place him in the top 8 seed for next weekend. The 2020 PSAC Indoor Track and Field Championship will take place Saturday and Sunday at Edinburgh University. Shippensburg women's basketball was back in action on Wednesday night at home against Shepherd. Ryan Sandy has the highlights.
The Raiders and the Rams started off in a close battle. Ariel Jones was big from the beginning as she had 2 big threes early. The defense was stout in this one as they held Shepherd shooting 34% from the field. The ball movement was a big part in this one as the Raiders were taking smart shots. The Raiders had 26 points inside the paint during this game. They had 16 second chance points as they out-rebounded Shepherd 51-41 on the night. Ariel Jones would finish with 32 points, and the Raiders would go on to win this game 69-59. For SUTV Sports, I'm Ryan Sandy.
Basketball will be back in action this Saturday at Kutztown. Tip-off is at 1 o'clock. On Wednesday, the Shippensburg men's basketball team faced Shepherd at Higas Fieldhouse. SUTV Sports' Jack Ansley has the highlights.
On Wednesday, the Shippensburg men's basketball team faced Shepherd at Higas Fieldhouse. Early in the first, Jake Biss hits a 3 to extend the Raiders' lead to 7 points. Later in the half, Raiders up by 1. Biss finds Nedro for the layup to put the Raiders up 31-28 at the half. Early in the second, Nedro puts in another layup to extend the Raiders' lead to 6 points. From there, the Raiders would go on multiple runs and hold on the win 66-59. For SUTV Sports, I'm Jack Ainsley.
The Raiders will wrap up regular season on Saturday at Kutztown. Tip-off is at 3 o'clock. After a 0-6 start to the baseball team took a weekend trip to New Jersey and came home with 4 wins over Queens.
Our schedule was very tough the first 2 weeks, and Queens had a good team. The first game was back and forth, and we gave up the lead a couple of times. So once we, kind of dug in and finished game 1, and then after that they played great. Our defense got better. Our pitching really stepped up. So.
Game 1, Ship had 20 hits and won 19-14. In Game 2, senior pitcher Kyle Lissy secured the win after throwing a 5-hit shutout. Game 3 was all sophomore left fielder Tony Vavaroussos, as he went 2-3 with 2 home runs to help lead Ship to a 6-2 win. And Ship completed with a sweep in Game 4 with a 11-2 win behind 2 home runs with center fielder Zach Zoller. Games 2 win this weekend marked Coach Matt Jones' 500th career win. In his 14 seasons at Chip, he's posted a 352 to 339 won record, with 35 of those victories coming in postseason play. Win number 500 is big, but Coach Jones gives a lot of credit to his coaches and players.
It's a good testament to how well the program's been doing. I've had a lot of good assistants and a lot of really good players, and it just is kind of a reflection on how well things have been going more than any one game. It's just a product of being gainfully employed for a long time. I mean, we look at it 1 year at a time and just try to do the best we can for our players that are here at the time. And, you know, I guess it's just a product of that.
Jones and the Raiders look to stay hot as they host Lemoyne for a 3-game series this weekend. First pitch is Saturday at 12. The Shippensburg University lacrosse team played its home opener against IUP on Saturday. Yesterday, the Raiders completed a huge comeback to beat the Seton Hill Griffins 10-9. The Raiders improved to 2-1 on the season and returned home Saturday to play number 23 ranked New York Institute of Technology. Both men and women's swimming placed in the top 10 last week. Marley Bowman has more.
Last week, the Shippensburg swim team participated in the PSAC championships. The women's team totaled in 463 points and managed to place 7th overall. Senior Gabrielle Johnson finished second in the 200-yard breaststroke, giving her 4 career-all PSAC performances in the event. The men were no short of achievements either, finishing in 4th with a total of 373 points, their best finish in 9 years. Along with that, sophomore Matt Brachansky became the first Raider in 8 years to win a conference title, taking the gold in the 200-yard breaststroke, topping off their win. This is Marley Bowman reporting for SUTV News.
That's it for this week for sports. Let's send it back to the desk.
When we come back, a World War II hero gets the medal he deserves.
Stay tuned. A World War II veteran from New Jersey has his service medals. It only took 70 years. Tony Yates went to the Assisted Living Center where Thomas Simpson resides to share the celebration with him.
Well, I would tell you my days in the Navy were some of the best days of my life.
World War II Navy veteran Thomas Simpson is 92 years young.
My skipper woke me up one morning at 5 o'clock and said, "Can you make coffee?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "You're the cook."
These are the medals he earned more than 72 years ago: the American Campaign, the Asiatic Pacific, and the World War II Victory Medals.
Well, the benefits of going in the service is you learn discipline.
He was determined to get those medals after a question from one of his grandsons.
So he said, "Papa, what did you do in the war?" I said, "I'll get my medals and I'll show you."
He flew over Hiroshima.
Congressman Josh Gottheimer made sure the medals got to the man who enlisted at 17 years old and earned them.
I had a flag flown over the United States Capitol in honor of you and your service to our great country.
That's great.
1, 2, 3.
Well, Simpson has been quite busy with other things. Married the love of his life, Dorothy, right after the Navy. 71 years, the two of them.
Very nice. We've always been together.
And this is Simpson on the Rivervale Police Force, chief for 23 years. His family, including Thomas Simpson IV, attended the small ceremony, which also included this Navy veteran, Philip. They met here at the Sunrise Living Facility in Old Tappan, started swapping war stories, only to discover they had been in the same boot camp class.
Oh, we're in the same picture, the boot camp, training camp.
Did you see that picture?
I saw, yeah.
And that was you in his picture?
Yeah, he says so. I really thought I was much more handsome.
Service has been his life.
It was an adventure, and we wanted to do it.
In Old Tappan, Tony Yates, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
Wow, that is great how we finally got those medals after 70 years. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, those medals are awesome, but Thomas and Dorothy, married 71 years, I think those two should just get an honor for, or a medal for that. That's a long time there. And with that happy ending, that's it from us. I'm Jordan Hanley.
And I'm Bailey Casada. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at SUTV News, and check out our website, sutvnews.org.
We'll see you next week.